Man.
Christian just sucking it back.
Dude.
It's Jack and Coke.
Okay. I didn't question what it was.
It doesn't change the fact that you're still chugging that.
Sucking it.
Oh, well, can't use that clip now. Thanks, Bob. All right. We're back for round 2. Episode 2 of the Ball with the Boys podcast.
Oof.
Pretty good. Well, thank you to everyone who watched the previous episode, wasn't completely turned off, and tuned in again. We hope you stay with us.
That's the goal. I hope everybody stays with us, keeps watching, enjoys themselves, has a good time, shows it to their friends, make their friends have a good time.
Hopefully laugh, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, too. Throwing some jokes, some puns here and there.
So, a little off topic, but the other day, or I don't know what day it was really, but I was on Facebook, and I saw something one of my friends had posted on there saying their top 3, I think it was 5, but I don't know the number, top 5 games that influenced them the most during their childhood. I figured that would be kind of a cool segment for all of us to get into and break down our games that we played.
Yeah.
So I'll start mine. My first one that it's not really in any order, but just one I wrote down here was Guitar Hero.
Ooh,
When I lived in an apartment complex, when I was like 11 or 12, all the kids around used to come to my house because they had a PS2 at the time. We all used to rock out to some Guitar Hero. That was a fond memory I kind of have in my head, stuck for quite some time.
I forgot about that game, actually.
Yeah, that totally just popped back in my mind. I was never like great at
Yeah.
Guitar Hero, but I definitely had like 1 or 2 of the versions. I played it at Christian's house a bunch of times when the drum version came out, and we played that.
That's Band Hero. No, it is Guitar Hero, but it's called Band Hero.
Yeah.
It's all equipments.
Yeah, I remember I like drove to your house after work in like the middle of a snowstorm, like the very first day you got it, just to try it out. And we just kept switching back and forth from the guitar and the drums because no one wanted to try the mic. Everyone was embarrassed to try to sing.
Didn't I try the mic? I don't remember that.
I'm sure you might have, but that was a solid game. I remember Tim used to be pretty nasty on the guitar.
That was all right.
I tried the mic a lot. I didn't sound too good to anybody else, but I sounded good to myself.
I remember.
That's all it
I did
matters.
put a lot of hours in Guitar Hero, but I like beat them on expert. I think on guitar.
That's
But then I
pretty
was like,
good.
I was trying to get all the achievements, and like the achievements, you had to do the singing too. So I remember when no one was home, I would just try to like bang it all the songs, sing all the songs when no one was home, just to get all the achievements done.
You gotta kind of just like hit the melodies. You don't have to like hold the notes as well as.
Well,
they
you
do
didn't
in
need
the
to say
song.
words. You just needed to
Just, like, hum it
hit
out.
the tone. Yeah,
you
you just like
can sound like crap as long as you got like the pitch right, you know?
Exactly. So I would just sit there and hum songs, trying to get the achievements.
All I can say, it's a really good game when you're drunk, too.
I'm sure
I don't know, but I've
it
never
gets
done
a lot harder. I'm
No,
pretty sure.
I never played during my childhood. I was never playing
Yeah.
Guitar Hero drunk. So
when I was
can't
9 and
talk about
wasted.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I can't speak to that one.
All right, well, I'll take it back even further. I think one of the first games that made a difference to me probably was the original Pokemon Red and Blue Game
Oh,
Boy,
shit.
like black and white edition before even there was like colored Game Boy.
That's a good one.
I remember like my neighbor growing up. He was like one of my best friends. He had it on the old like massive Game Boy, and I was like, "What the hell are you playing? You little guy like walking around."
The
He's like, "Oh,
Chunka
it's Pokemon." And I was like, "I don't even know what that is." Before the show, before any of that stuff, I ended up picking up one of them. I think I had Red, Pokemon Red. Played that for a little bit until like Yellow or something came out, and yeah, obviously there's like a million of them out now. But I was like in middle school, and literally was just like morning, after school, at night, like in bed. It was probably like thousands of hours into this random little like black and white handheld game before it was even like backlit when you need to like a reading light to use it at
That's
night.
what I was gonna say. You have to go real close like this and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, you're like under the lamp trying to like, I'm capturing this Pokemon.
I remember they made a little attachment you could put on the side of your.
Yeah, it was like a booklight.
Yeah.
Like a little worm.
Yeah, until they came out with like Game Boy Advanced, that was like backlit already, and by then they had like Pokemon Gold and Silver, which I mean, going all the way back to like Red, I think I've had like every single one up until I kind of like lost focus on the handheld industry.
Pokemon's still to this day one of the greatest games. Like right now, like it evolved from what you said, Red and Blue, all the way up to Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield, which is freaking amazing. Especially now it has expansions where you can add on things to the game. So it's actually a well improvement from what it previously was. Yeah. Even the selection of Pokemon too.
I don't know, you think back and it's like you spent so many hours and it was like so fun catching all these random Pokemon on like this just like crappy graphics, no animations, and now it's like they're full color, it's like 3D, it's like just super.
You can even go outside now and catch Pokemon.
Well, you can't even play Game Boy outside. It's really hard with the sun. You remember what Game Boy is like when you try to go outside and you try to look at it and you're like, damn, it's really hard to see. Yeah, you really have to.
Yeah, I don't know if it's any better these days. I've been removed from the handheld game since.
Oh yeah. Since the backlit. But I'm talking about the bulky one where you were playing with, like going outside and playing with that. No Game Boy was a pain.
Yeah, that one you need to like put some pretty hardcore lighting to get it to work. But yeah, that's probably number one on my list, just from like just massive amount of hours spent as a kid, and then once a show came out, I was like addicted to that show and everything. That was like a huge part of my childhood. So that's probably topping my list at least.
Yeah, I'm a little younger than you guys, so I kind of missed that train. I feel like I never really got into the Pokemon thing. I feel like I don't know if I had any handhelds actually. I think my first. It was like a PlayStation 2, honestly. It was like the first thing that I had in my house, at least. Like I played at a friend's house, PlayStation 1 and other stuff, but I think the first thing I really started playing was like a PS2. I think
I know where you're going with this too, because I was around.
You probably were. Yeah. I think. What was it? The story when my dad bought like GTA for it, but I couldn't play that. But I think it was like probably like Tony Hawk or something. I think on like a PS2.
Yeah, I think like.
I wish there's that new Tony Hawk that's coming out. Like,
yeah,
that's.
Well, for the people who watched episode 1, you know that Tim is my brother-in-law. So when I first started dating his sister a long time ago, he was like 9 years old or something like that. He was like super, super young. And when I first came over, she was like, "Oh, my little brother wants to see if you can help him in, the very first Ratchet and Clank game. He can't get past this level."
Oh my god!
I was like,
I completely forgot about those.
And I was like,
like,
oh, okay. And I remember like he just sat and stared at me super awkwardly because he was like this little tiny human, like 2-year-old. And I was like, I helped him beat this level for like 2 seconds, and I was like, all right, let's go do something else. Like, I don't want to talk to your baby brother anymore. And
Ratchet and Clank.
Like after that, like Tim, I remember he kept playing, and he ended up getting like so good at it. He was beating the games that I never even like beat, and I was like, oh, I guess he doesn't need my help anymore. That 10 minutes I helped him with, like when he was 9 years old, I'm pretty sure I like kickstarted all his Ratchet and Clank games. But I would say that's a solid one for him because he used to play that shit all the time.
I don't even see. Like I said, I have a bad memory, and I didn't remember at all. And as soon as you said that, just like all of it flooded came back to me. Just
that's funny.
That's a good game.
That's Scott's one of Scott's games that he like. Every time I go over to South, Ratchet Clank will be one of his games in itself.
Yeah, man. Because I was like, I think that was one of the first games where I like achieved like the 100%, whatever it should be called back in the day. I was like, not really like platinum. It was like whatever it was, like physically achieving all the levels and the goals and stuff. And I played them for a while, and then I think they stopped making them or something.
Well, I got you the latest one, the
remake, right?
Version. Yeah.
That was on like PS3 or PS4.
I stopped playing them because I got the Xbox 360, and then it was a PlayStation thing after that. And after I got rid of the PlayStation 2, I moved on to Xbox, and I stopped kind of playing them. But it was definitely a lot of hours into that game.
So
The question
hold on.
is
Is Tim sticking with Tony Hawk, or is he switching to Ratchet and Clank?
I don't know anymore. Probably Ratchet and Clank, because I think Tony Hawk was just one of the first ones that
Ratchet and Clank was dope.
The Ratchet and Clank, but then that immediately, as soon as I say this, Brian, remember Sly Cooper?
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
That immediately Sly Cooper.
That was
Brian, we used to always. He had it, but I would always every day I would go over his house and we'd play Sly Cooper every day. And that was the other one.
That was a good
I
one.
just remember
So many hours. So many hours.
I remember you playing that one too. That was a good one. I was never into that one as much. I definitely was playing Ratchet and Clank like crazy, like replaying them, going back. Like they used to have these crazy weird glitches where you could go and stand under this tunnel thing, and it was some sort of gun that you could use to collect bolts. And if you just stood in a certain spot, in this weird spot in this map, and just held the button down and collecting bolts, it would just never stop collecting. And I remember I left my PlayStation on, and I taped a second controller onto the first controller to hold the button down so that I could go outside and interact with the world. And I remember I left it on for so long, and then my mom turned it off 6 hours later, and I was so worried that when I turned it on, none of those bolts would have been collected. They were, but it was worth it to me. But I remember that I was so nervous when I came back in, and my contraption was all disassembled.
I remember, I don't know if it was the first one, but yeah, you would have to go around and you have to find all. I remember looking up, trying to find
the
videos
golden
of
bolts.
The gold bolts. Yeah, the hidden. There's 2 in each level. You have to go find them all.
Yeah, I
remember that.
And
then there's what was the name of
so long.
The name of the gun that was in every game, and each time it was the.
It was that missile one, right?
It's not. It was like a nuke, but it was a nuke. It was a nuke though. It was an abbreviation.
Yeah, you had to find the pieces to make it, right?
On the first one, I think.
Yeah.
But every game they had a new version of it. I remember that.
Damn.
In general, the series.
That is a really good game.
In general, the creators actually all 3 of their games are really good. Sly Cooper, Jack and Dexter, which you guys didn't mention.
I never played that.
Insomniac
games. Insomniac games.
Yeah. Yep.
I briefly played that one, not too much for it to be an all-timer.
Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, I didn't.
Jack and Dexter.
I think it was pretty good. That actually got me into it. The whole series itself, with Ratchet and Clank and stuff. That's the one I played on PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good platformer, but it actually had an interesting story with that goofy superhero, Captain Quark, I think his name was. It was
Yep.
It was just an interesting story.
Yeah,
Jack and Dexter was really good gameplay, very similar, but it just the story wasn't as intriguing as Ratchet and Clank. I remember I always went back Ratchet and Clank.
They were very they had every game was a continued storyline. They weren't standalone things, which was I feel pretty big for back then. If you look at them now, that's pretty big. They had 4 games that were continued story.
Yeah. They were long.
It was pretty impressive.
The old days.
Yeah, it was you don't really have those long form platformers. All the new stuff is just either crappy graphics and quick gameplay, or just overly cinematic God of War style, where it's just you're playing a movie scene, which it's fun. But I feel the old series where you just platforming through just ton of hours of all the levels is just you don't really have that anymore.
There's a lot of online focused games now too. A lot of multiplayer focus rather than campaigns or story modes.
Yeah. I mean,
is Tim still sticking with Sly Cooper?
What? I don't know.
I
don't know anymore.
I don't know where Tim's going. Is it Tony Hawk or Sly Cooper?
It probably wasn't Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
That was just the first one I can think of. But
we'll keep it general. I don't think we have to confirm. I think we're just some numbers out here. So, all right, Christian, what's your first?
So this was a little tough one because I have a lot of games I played. So I'm trying to think of ones that actually brought me into everything. And I would say Halo, because Halo is a big one with anybody that played Xbox. Yep. It was one of the first ones that you could actually hop into. Well, I wouldn't say hop into a vehicle. It was Grand Theft Auto did have that certainty, but it wasn't as great as what Halo had. The combat system was amazing. The first person in general was cool, and there was this cool thing where you can actually have more than, I think it was 4 players, or was it 4-on-4? If I remember, but like you could just having all those players in one room with all your friends, like, oh man, do you want to play? And like, oh yeah, me too, I want to hop in. Like that was like one of the most memorable moments I ever had, is just having all my friends over, just going like 2v2, 4v4, and how much fun how many things you can do in that game. It's like, it's nuts. The vehicles are amazing. The maps are crazy, spectacular. The weapons, everything, bazookas, everything. But yeah, I would say Halo was one of my top.
I liked that game, the gunplay in that game specifically, because when you were holding up the gun, it showed how much ammo you had on a little screen on the gun. Yeah. I like that aspect of it. That was pretty cool.
I think for me, like I said, like I'm a little younger, so like the Ratchet Clank is my early, but like Halo 3, I think, is when I started, and that definitely had probably one of the biggest impacts on me, because I remember at that time, like I just meeting friends at school. One of my best friends now, we started playing that game before we were like really good friends, and we literally played like one summer, just the entire summer. We just spent every single night playing Halo 3 in like Forge mode, and just doing the dumbest stuff in Forge mode all night long, just ridiculous laughs, having so much fun, just messing around, like not doing anything, but it was so fun. And I think that's like Halo 3 is probably one of the biggest ones that impacted my gaming, I think. But a little later on.
I was going to say too, just because that brought in the online multiplayer, and that was a big part of the online multiplayer stuff. Yeah. Halo was like,
I feel like thinking back, like Halo 1 was probably the first game I remember being in the same room and like doing a split screen, like attacking each other, like face off game, like a little LAN party sitting next to each other.
Everyone would just scream at each other and be like, don't look at my screen.
Yeah, that was the same thing, like where you spawned and stuff like that. Like it was definitely like online games and stuff we played. But yeah, Halo 1, like I remember sitting in the same room. It was like one of the first games, like 4 controllers on a TV that was probably like 20 inches big, like a little square TV with like 4 screens on it. And that was like, that kind of like kicked off like a huge like LAN party idea, like obviously with like Halo 1, 2, 3, like the rest of them. But like I remember the first one just like driving around like in the Warthogs, just crashing into each other, not even like shooting each other or playing a game mode, just like doing dumb stuff, like trying to jump off cliffs and random stuff.
The story mode was even cool too. Having 4 players.
To this day, I still think Halo has one of the best storylines. Like
story's a good one.
I feel like in that age of like when Halo was around, the games were made in the context of making a good game and not making money.
Making money.
And they were like amazing. Like they had full orchestras writing their soundtrack, and like Halo's orchestra, like their songs are amazing. You have these long, drawn out, in depth, detailed campaigns with the music behind it, and just it's like playing a movie. And it's like you don't get that experience anymore with the games nowadays. Like, every now and then you do, but like that's not what's selling right now. And it's like I miss that. Like that's why I think Halo was so amazing too, because you have that multiplayer aspect that was so fun, but then you also have that single player, which is just like nothing else.
Yeah, it's rare nowadays. Like you said, everything is like either only online or like just a simple story. You don't really get that mix, like that effort. That effort doesn't really go into it anymore because people see the quick money just doing like, not to rag on Fortnite, but you know what I mean? Like stuff like Fortnite, like that whole concept of gaming has definitely shifted over the past few years. You don't really get like the solid games that are good everywhere.
Yeah, it's mostly that what they would call it back then. It would be like couch co-op because everyone being all in one room instead of multiplayer, which I don't know, doesn't feel the same. I just miss everyone together in once, just having fun, the same room.
So a second game for me, I was gonna say Sly Cooper, but that was already talked about. Is sports games, but in general, Madden. I don't remember exactly the earliest one I ever played, but it was like 2007 or 8 or something like that. And I just remember doing like the online competitives and even just making like crappy franchises, drafting shitty players and trying to do the best I could with the terrible players. I spent a lot of hours in that game.
I think to add on to that, I think the great thing about Madden was like I'm not a huge sports fan. I don't really follow sports and anything like that. But whenever I got together with friends and we played Madden, like in the same room, it was so fun. Like no matter what, like I didn't know the teams or anything like that. I didn't care who the players were, but just that right next to that person you're playing against, that competitive, like scoring at each other, screaming at each other in the same room was just fun every single time.
Yep.
Like no matter what, even like I said, I couldn't really care that much about sports, but it was still awesome playing that game together next to you like best friends.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever owned my own version of Madden, but I remember definitely like playing with other people, and it's like you either have somebody who's like super good, who probably was like Brian, or you have like when we would jump on, it would just be like every play would be like a shotgun Hail Mary, and just be like
shotgun.
like backing up into the end zone, just ripping 100-yard shot. Like that was like legit my strategy every single time, because I'm like it works like half the time, and I'm scoring like touchdowns every time.
Yep. Or you just run up and down the field for 5 minutes. Just keep running around.
I have a specific memory in my head that involves Tim and Madden.
Uh-oh.
I remember one time I went over his house and we were playing games, then we got bored. And I asked him if he had a Madden, and I think it was 2007 he had. And I was like telling him how good I was and we should play it and all that shit. And then he put it on there, right? And we picked our teams, and Tim whooped my ass. I remember that. I hate you.
I don't remember that. I have an awful memory.
All those Hail Marys.
Mm-hmm.
You whooped my ass.
That's probably what it was. He was probably trying to be all tactical because he likes sports. So he's like, "Oh, this play is playing." I was just like picking half the time. When I first started playing Madden, I never realized when you pick a play, it showed you like the person you're supposed to throw it to. And I was just randomly picking things and randomly pressing buttons. Like I didn't even know what the hell I was doing, but it was still fun. And somehow I still won, I guess. But
I think it was 2007. It had
probably.
It had Mike Vick on the cover.
Did it?
That's an old name,
remember.
Michael Vick.
I probably only own like one copy of Madden.
Well,
That's probably the one.
The only one I played was mostly the set back in the day, like Sega. So.
Jeez.
Yeah, I remember when I played a football game, I used to always play the Blitz game, the one where like tackles.
NFL Blitz, yeah.
It was like similar, but it was like less technical than Madden. But like
you
could
could
tackle someone
somebody.
like like MMA
Was that the
style.
one? Yeah, you would like when they were on the ground, you could run over and do like a front flip on them anyway, even if they were down already.
Yeah, it was basically like Madden if you included like wrestling.
Yeah.
If you ever tried the Streets ones, those are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those ones are pretty fun. All right, well, I'll hit you guys with something that'll intro. This is probably a bunch of old games for Christian. I would say another solid one on my list is SOCOM.
Oh yeah,
That's
that was a good one.
SOCOM 1 was the very first time I played online like gaming, because on the PS2 you could buy like a $50 adapter and screw it to the back of the PlayStation and plug in like an Ethernet cable. But I don't even know if it was an Ethernet cable. It might have been like a phone line or something. But back then you either take over the phone line and the entire internet for your house, or you have to get like a second phone line. And I remember that like I bought the adapter, and my parents wouldn't let me play until they got the second phone line, because they would take up the internet and the phone. And like the very first day they got the second phone line, I went on and played, and it was so fun, but it was like complete garbage, because it was just like there was no like sense of internet servers or anything back then. And as soon as I went on, my friend called me on the phone, and we were talking on the second phone line on the phone while I was playing. So it was like pointless to get the two phone lines, because we were just immediately taking them up. But like SOCOM 1 online, and then SOCOM 2, SOCOM 3 was, aside from like my other name, which is going to be Call of Duty, like SOCOM probably has my most online hours in. Just when I was younger, I had no responsibilities, and like the third person aspect of it was so different than like the Halos and stuff like that, which are still really solid. I used to play that with Kristen. I used to play with like some of my other friends. Like a core group of people that we used to always play that one, and it was just like every online gaming memory I have is like tied to one of those SOCOM games. I think they remade one of them on like PS4 when it first came out or something, and it was good, but it was just like too updated. It wasn't as like old and crappy and the same fun that like old crappy games have. But yeah, I still have like my copies of SOCOM. Like every time I traded games in, I always got rid of like all my games except for those ones. Even though like I've never like plugged in those old systems, I just have like so many memories tied to them. Like I don't even want to like let go of those discs.
Yeah, number 3 was the one that you got me into when we were working back then.
The third one was awesome. Like the online was a lot cleaner. They had like, I think that's when they introduced like the vehicles. They closed a bunch of like the hacking that used to happen in like 1 and 2, where like people were like running around like machine gunning you with like sniper rifles and like just like changing their leader scores. And like I remember in SOCOM 1, I actually broke. I was like 97 or something like that. It like the entire game, like we broke under 3 digits for like ranking, me and my friend, because we used to play like so often, and it wasn't like that many people. Like now, obviously, it's like millions. It was only like thousands back then, but we actually like got into like double digits of like ranking on the entire game. And then like a few weeks later, like some hack came out, and like the list was we were just like thrown down to like 10,000 within like 2 seconds. They just like completely hacked and destroyed the leaderboard. I remember we were like so mad, spent so many hours like striving our way to like be really good at it, and then people were like running around as like with like claymores for arms and stuff like that. Like it was just it was back when it was like really like complicated to do that kind of stuff, so like no one had any idea how to stop it or how to do any of that, so the game just got totally destroyed. That's probably when I stopped playing those early ones.
I never played SOCOM. I think I played like a demo once, but I never got into that. But like you said, it brought up Call of Duty. I don't think anyone who's ever played video games ever can say they've never played
Call of Duty,
games.
man. I think
like
that's on my list. I'm pretty sure that's on all of our lists.
Yeah, it is. Definitely on there. I think probably one of the best ones that I played a lot of was like the original Modern Warfare. I think was
the
one of the big
Modern Warfare.
That or COD 4.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, probably same. Either that one or Black Ops. The very first one. The very first Black Ops.
Oh, we had some good times with Black Ops.
Because I know they had like zombies on like in like the Call of Duty 3 or whatever it was.
The first one had zombies.
Was it? Yeah, because I remember they brought it back in Black Ops, right? Black Ops wasn't new.
I think Black Ops.
Black Ops is the only one.
Was it?
Black Ops.
Started at Black Ops, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, like aside from the game itself, which was like ton of like online hours and stuff like that. I remember zombies. Talk about memories. I'm sure everyone has like memories about freaking zombies. Like going to Christian's house, like his new apartment. We just like the whole week we like went over, like set up all his furniture, like painted all his walls, and then like that Saturday when he was like fully moved in, we ordered like a bunch of pizza and stuff from like the Pizza Hut down the street, and it was like me, you, and like 2 other guys, and we played 1 round of zombies for like that was probably like 8 hours.
It was long.
I don't forget how far we made it. We were using the old glitch, the monkey glitch thing, where like you throw the monkey and then like they all went to the monkey, then you like stack up your things and you get like 100 more monkeys or whatever.
There's a lot of glitches in that game.
We were like so tired of it after like a couple hours, but then we're like, oh my god, like this sucks. Like who's gonna throw the monkey? Like okay, run around, like try to get more. It was like a chore after so long. Like we weren't even having fun at like hour 5. It was just.
But you still want to play again. That's the thing.
That one night was probably like the longest session I've had with other people, but it was probably like one of my best like gaming memories, like playing Black Ops at freaking Christian's house.
I love how they still have split screen on that too, because even the latest zombies, not the newest Call of Duty doesn't have it, but the one before it allows split screen zombies.
Was that not even too long ago? That was Black Ops 3 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I went over to a friend of mine's house and we played split screen zombies like for hours, and it was just like I was like, oh my god, like just playing it with him there, it was just like, this is awesome. Like I'm so happy they still have that
different
option for split screen. And like we literally just played for hours and hours and hours, and like I think we almost beat one of the Easter eggs without even looking it up, and it was like, oh my god, like that was the first time we've ever done it. And then it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I need to go home and go to sleep because I need to work tomorrow morning. But I'm glad that they kept that option of having split screen zombies and even the newer game.
Yeah, zombies was crazy, and then like Modern Warfare, like the first one, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was like the pinnacle of like first person like
that was
gaming.
my favorite COD.
Just like the most anger I've probably had in my life. Like, back at my parents' house, I couldn't like scream. There was like no chat really back then. So we would like chat over like cell phone and certain things. It was like lobby stuff, but oh yeah, I remember like just in the middle of the night, like everyone's sleeping in my house and I'm like one wall away from like my parents and my sisters, and I'm just like punching my legs, like slap myself in the face, like I don't know what to do, like to be quiet, but I'm just like rage breaking controllers and stuff. I mean, the game was like super fun, and I have like so many hours. Like Christmas morning, I'm like, oh, Christmas, and then like I'm like, oh, okay, and then I go start playing Modern Warfare. It's like, but yeah, that was like definitely the pinnacle of like my gaming rage. Like it was never worse than that. I couldn't even tell you like some of those. I mean, you should just take a look at Tim's walls and he'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah. That game definitely, Tim definitely broke a few controllers, a few headsets, some holes in the walls. Tim more than others, but...
What do you mean? I'm sure you've all done it.
I remember specifically one time you were sitting in like an office chair and you punched the arm of the chair down so hard you broke it. And you were so afraid your dad was going to yell at you because you broke it.
I don't know if you ever knew about that one, but I remember that. No, actually, I don't think it was that game though, because you were there. That was Dark Souls.
Oh shit! Yeah, that was Dark Souls.
That was dark because you never played it, but you would love to come over and watch me play it. And
just so you could like punch holes in the walls. He used to hit me all the time too. It was fucking awesome.
You would come over though to watch me play it.
He would just use you as like a punching bag when he gets mad.
Yeah. That was Dark Souls, which was another game, which was like a little later on, but still. It's just
definitely a good one.
That was fun.
All right, Christian, hit us.
All right. So this is my second, which me and Scott used to play a lot of. So I would say DDR. Because
really?
I knew you were going there.
Because that was one of the games that actually I would love to like play with especially Scott. Every time after work, we just go over one of my buddy's house and just like lay down the pad and just like get into the funk. Like we would.
I still remember like me and Kristen used to play all the time, and we would play where like you stand in the middle and you just dance around like a weirdo, like kind of Irish step jigging back and forth, and you max out your speed so fast, and you're like, man, this is just fun, but it's so weird. And we went to our buddy's house, who like was like a resident like Fun World player or something. He used to play like the
arcade. My god!
And he's like showed us the move where you just kind of like never leave your foot up. You just kind of like step around on the pads, and we're like, we're just sitting there like watching him, like our minds are like blown. We're like, what the fuck? We both looked at each other like we had no idea what to do. And after that, like me and Christian got like so much better at it. But it was like it was such like an epiphany moment when we were watching him play, and he was just like, yeah, what's wrong? We're like, what?
Yeah, we would literally play days practicing it, trying to get our footing right, and like practicing harder songs, and then sometimes we would mess up, but then we would eventually get really good at it and we'll get S's. There was a lot of cool songs like that. Really,
so many good songs, dude.
Yeah, the anime ones were amazing. And then
I used to have a whole playlist on my iPod of like just DDR songs.
It's like you can't stop listening to that all those music lists or tracks that they had, because like every time you go to Fun World, that's the first thing you would go to, because everyone would be there back in the day, just like on that and just like going fast, exercising and stuff, and at the same time having fun.
Yeah, it's like one of those games that's like super fun, and then you go to like an arcade and you see somebody that's like holding the back rail and just like,
I tried doing that. It's so hard.
They're just ripping perfect steps, and it's like, oh, and they step off, take a drink, about to jump on another song, like it's their career. And it was like, well, I'm never playing that game again.
And those things are much more solid out there.
Oh, yeah. Not those mats on the floor that just like like moving all around,
flying all over the place.
I would say it's the worst game to learn how to dance, because in general you can't play the guitar right on the floor. Be like, all right, going to my buddy's wedding, I'm just gonna throw down a pad and start pressing some
You're like, oh, what was it? Up, up, down, down. I forget. Oh, I don't know how to do this.
I've never really played DDR, but I definitely watched other people go crazy on that game. So I could see why that's definitely a highly rated game on a lot of people's lists.
That's like in the same category of like before Guitar Hero came out.
Mhm.
It was like the same concept where it was like you're just following the screen arrows and stuff like that, and then like Guitar Hero like added everybody else that just didn't want to like run around and dance around. Because every time we would play, it was like, holy crap, I'm like getting a workout, sweating. I had to like go change into shorts so that I could play the game. Like
they would literally give free water of jugs to people at Fun Worlds. Like we would just go downstairs, like, hey, can we get a jug of water? We just bring it up. They had fans there too, just blowing on us when we did like ripping all these moves and stuff.
it was like
fun.
a whole scene. Yeah, it was like it was the thing.
So another big one on my list, and I played this a shitload with Tim, is Skate. Any of the Skate games. I mean,
Skate 3.
That game was so fun. Just going around doing tricks off of anything you could possibly see. It was the Miracle Whip. One of the grab your board moves where you do a 360 and hold your board in the air.
Backflip 360 thing that made no sense.
And we just played that game for hours, just trying to perfect doing Miracle Whip.
Or just doing stupid bails. Like you could purposely hurt yourself as much as you could, just fly off of these things and fall downstairs and hurt yourself. And it would just parks and
I was just gonna say that you could build your own parks and you could do anything you wanted. We just played for hours and hours and hours, all night long, building our own parks, inviting each other to our parks to test it out.
I remember the best thing is that game is that I did not like it at all at first because I used to play Tony Hawk, and then Skate 3 was so different because the angle was like lower, and you had to physically do the tricks with the analog sticks. Yep. Like you didn't hit A to ollie, you had to drag and then flick up to ollie or flick to the right to kickflip. And at first I was like, I hate this. This is so weird. So I hated it. I'm like, this game is terrible. Tony Hawk's better. And then I started playing that game a lot more, and I loved it way more. I could not I never went back. Like once I started playing that game, I didn't go back to Tony Hawk. Like it mixes the best realistic parts of skating, but also the dumb parts of the falling and the bailing out the hall of meat. So it's still fun. Yeah, and you can just play with your friends. Like
you could just roll around and jump around and sling yourself off of stuff.
You can fall up, and then right when you go down, you kick off and you just fly around. It made no sense at all. But it was so fun.
Break every single bone in your body.
Yeah, that game was great.
I remember seeing you play it, but I never played it. I was definitely a Tony Hawk guy a long time ago.
Yeah.
I never played Skate.
Yeah, I know to this day, everyone wants that game to get either a fourth or a remaster of the first one.
Yeah, they have this whole movement that's EA make Skate 3 again, and this whole thing they're trying to make it, but I don't think they were gonna make it. They finally coming out with this thing. I think it's called Project Skate.
Oh,
where it's a different developer and everything, but I think it's supposed to be
same creators,
similar
a Skate 4-ish thing. Yeah, but I don't know how that's gonna be. It's not as big. I think I don't know who ended up making it, but I think that's supposed to be their attempt of a Skate 4. But I'm interested to see how that is. I'd definitely play it though. It sounds good.
Yeah,
I think so.
That's a solid choice. I think I already gone through my main three as a Pokemon, SOCOM, and then we kind of all touched on Call of Duty. I think my runner-up will probably be not a game, but I'll just say the series of GTA. I think everyone has massive hours into something. I remember playing them back when they were top-down arcade shooters on PS1 and PS2 and stuff like that. When they were just not really that fun. It was just you little 8-bit guy steals a car and runs over people.
It was fun.
Yeah, when San Andreas and some of those other big ones came out, man, this was the hours just doing just pointless challenges and just dumb things and stuff. Before you could do it together. I think I stopped playing before the newest one or GTA 5 where you could multiple people could actually be in the same game. But those original ones it was San Andreas. What was the one before that?
Vice City.
Vice
City.
Oh yeah,
I think that was
probably the first
that was
one that I started.
And then
more hours in.
Liberty City Stories was one.
That was a
City.
Yeah, that was the side stories of all that.
Yeah, that was a prequel. It was a
No, they had one for 3. They had one for the Vice City. I think they had one for San Andreas. I'm not sure, but it was like a side story to a different character for each one of the series.
But I would say Vice City and San Andreas for me. Those are the two that I just have. That's definitely my runner-up between the two of those games. Like as far as like hours played, like my list is probably viewed as like hours played. So like those 3, and then like my runner-up was probably like those 2 GTA games.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
It's probably very close for me as well. Like Ratchet and Clank, Halo 3, COD, and Skate are probably one of the biggest ones. Like I always played the same thing. But I think that's because also who you're playing it with. Like Skate 3 is a great game, but it gets boring by yourself. But if Brian wasn't there, like we put so many hours together. My other buddy, Halo 3, you can beat the game on Legendary many times, but when you're in Forge mode with your friend, you can play that game forever. So I think part of it is just who you're playing the game with.
Yeah, and it changes too, because like back in the day when like you don't have your own job and you're dependent on like someone buying you games, you like get a game and you just like you play the crap out of that game until somebody else like buys you a new one, or your birthday or Christmas comes around. So it's like you just play the like maximum that you can out of these games, and like it's different nowadays because like not every game is like a full purchase title. They're all like little download games and stuff. So like back in the day you just like that's what you did. You got one game and you just played the crap out of it until Christmas came and you got a different one.
That was the best time, Christmas time, when you get that new video game. And you get it nice and fresh, and you're like, oh man, I'm just gonna put that in. And then you put it in, and you just have like the best time of your life.
And like the day later, you go back to the previous game.
Because like
I miss my.
Nobody has it yet.
Yeah.
No one has the game yet, so you're just gonna wait a little bit to play it.
So that's probably on my list. I don't know, Christian, what do you got? What's your number 3?
All right, so this is a tough one. So I didn't want to say the game itself, but I want to say the series is mostly the Zeldas, because that's the one that pretty much got me into anything Nintendo-wise.
Old school.
Especially Nintendo, the entertainment system. Zelda was like my number one go-to game that I would play with me and my brother. He was the one that actually got me into Zelda, and that's how, in general, I would get into the game, just playing those games, especially Majora's Mask, Link to the Past. What's the other one? What's before Majora's Mask?
I have no idea.
I didn't play them.
Yeah, I wasn't playing Nintendo on that time. I was playing different stuff.
Yeah.
You're like fall out of your chair there, man.
This guy's like looking.
Whoa.
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time, yeah. So
that's the one that.
For the audio people, he's like scrolling across his room trying to find the game.
I don't know what he just said. What in time?
Ocarina.
Ocarina of Time.
Oh, this is Korean time. That's like,
that was an unreleased title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, I never played those. Never got into Zelda games.
Yeah, if you like get your first Nintendo system, definitely get to pick up a Zelda game, because I love them all.
I think like Smash Brothers on GameCube.
Yeah, they'll be. Yeah, I think we'll be on there too.
It was like one of the first ones.
Smash probably makes like so many people's lists, and while I definitely played it and had like a lot of fun, I never had GameCube or any of those systems that like really kicked it off. So like I was never like crazy at it or like super addicted to it. Like I would play it when I went to somebody's house who had it, but it wouldn't make my list because I never actually like owned it, so I never put the hours into it. But I know that's probably never one on like so many people's lists. Even now, it's still a huge like multi-screen game that people play.
I remember my cousin had a GameCube, and it wasn't Smash Brothers that we played with her, but it was Animal Crossing, like the very first Animal Crossing on GameCube. I love that game, so I just recently bought a Switch for like $300, and just to play the new Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I know, but they're bringing all that stuff back. Freaking Animal Crossing.
Love it. I love that game.
Zelda and freaking Smash Brothers. Like Nintendo definitely knows how to cash in on like nostalgia. Like everything we're talking about, they're definitely honing in on that. Which I mean, there's definitely a huge audience for it. I mean, ourselves, and then the younger kids now, I think, are jumping into these quick battle royale games and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think Nintendo definitely has like the idea of bringing back some of that like old school like nostalgia stuff.
I would say Nintendo's like the only system that can bring back their iconic characters and like make a new game out of it, because I haven't seen as much for like PlayStation or Xbox. with their kind of characters, but like Mario's still going, Zelda's still going, Donkey Kong has a lot of series too.
Right.
So many of them, like Star Fox. That's another one that came out. Metroid. They pretty much have for every system. Like it's one of those systems that you can get your family together and have a good time because they remember Mario, and the new kids these days know Mario, so it's cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's true.
Pretty good list we had going on there.
Yeah, man, that was a pretty sweet topic. I think we hit on like a lot of old stories. Probably talked about some history of ourselves in the process. That was
definitely
cool.
brought back some other ones that I wasn't even
for sure
remembering.
A lot of big time games, but they also still meant a lot to us, even though a lot of people played them.
Yeah, because I mean, as you grow up, you play a lot of stuff with just like very few people, either by yourself or just with like a handful of friends. Like, you know, like for me, it was Christian. A lot of my memories are like playing games with Christian. And now it's like you can still play games with your friends, but there's like 100 other people playing every game that you jump into. So it's not that same like closeness that we all grew up with.
Right.
It's definitely a lot of good time spent on a lot of good games.
Well, since we touched up on top 3 game influential games, what about tabletop games?
I played a lot of tabletop games for sure.
Yeah, the tabletop ones are hard. I definitely played a lot of like card games, but I didn't grow up playing a whole lot of tabletop.
Well, you can throw off the bat one of them because I know you guys are going to say eventually.
I'll say.
Well, let me take a stab at it. I'll guess Yu-Gi-Oh, because I know I used to play that game a ton with my brother. Then I found out Tim had some cards, and we tried to play it a little bit here and there. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely a starter. It's not necessarily a tabletop, but I mean, you play it on a table, you know, it's a tabletop.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh was huge for me. I spent just a ton of money for my first job as like having a paper route, delivering newspapers. Like I would just like, you know, pay the bill, and then any extra money I had, I would like go buy packs of Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Especially trying to get all 5 Exodia.
Yeah, so to get like when the show came out, you're trying to match all that stuff. That's like when nobody knew how to play.
Legs.
You're trying to play like the show, and the show is like isn't realistic even remotely. So yeah, I mean, I would say like card games probably had more of an influence on me. Like Yu-Gi-Oh was huge. I used to play that with like all my friends. And then I
remember getting the Joey deck, the Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and the Kaiba deck.
Kaiba deck,
yeah. That was Yu-Gi-Oh, man. That was good.
I remember the time that Tim's camera went super blurry.
I was gonna say that. Like, I don't know what my camera's doing right now, and I'm trying to fix it. But I have no idea. I don't know what it did. It just spazzed out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that might be a sign. Maybe we should.
Wrap
it up.
I think tabletop's hard. I mean, I think we can probably jump into some old stories, some card games, some Yu-Gi-Oh, some Magic. But I think
for me, tabletop's more of a recent thing, too.
For sure, yeah.
Big tabletop, so that's definitely could be a good feature topic of making new memories.
Another episode. I mean, we definitely want to do a whole ton of everything we talked about, plus a ton more with like actual tabletop and card games. So, I mean, we definitely want to get into those and do some videos on those. But yeah, I think some reminiscing about some old video games definitely was set the stage for some pretty sweet conversations. So
for sure,
fixed it. Absolutely.
All right. Well,
cool.
That was a good episode 2. Board with the boys.
Yeah, Ep 2 in the books.
Out of the van.
Last time.
Yeah,
one step closer.
That van.
Oh, you took the words out of my mouth.
Road to the van.
Yeah, the road to the van, paving it one episode at a time.
Damn, that's deep.
That's deep, man. That's deep.
Means a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out for a later episode. We got to figure out how fast we're gonna go when I jump off, what I jump off into.
The ground.
And are we going to record me getting seriously hurt?
Yeah, and then eventually down the road we'll hash out why we even did that in the first place, because I'm still a little bit lost.
I don't know either.
But...
I don't know either.
Who knows? I don't think everyone will know.
Yeah. Well, on that note, hope to see everyone in the next one.
Absolutely. Episode 3.
Yeah.
Listening, whatever.
Yeah, be sure to watch and listen. Follow us on socials. And we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.
See you, everybody.
Bye.